by Lori Dean Wiley, member of Epic Church. Lori Dean.
All right, if you'd like to join me in prayer. Dear Lord, I just want to thank you, first of all, for all your blessings and for the fact that cases have come down, Lord. We just praise you for that fact, and thank you for all the good work of the community and the health department in overseeing that here in our community. Lord, I just new endeavors, look to plans, Lord, that you will be at the center of them, that if they're right, you would make them work easily and smoothly. And Lord, if we need to go back to the drawing board, that our city council is prepared to do that. Lord, I just thank you for each of them, for the time that they serve. Thank you so much for blessing us to be in Independence, Missouri. So in your name I pray, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We do have one resident who has signed up to speak tonight. Laura Dominic requests to speak to the council regarding bill number 21713, a resolution to issue $200 credits to utility customers. Ms. Dominic.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you. Again, good evening, Mayor and council members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak regarding this issue of the distribution of utility monies to the ratepayers. I want to specifically thank Mayor Ware and council members Hobart and DeLucy for responding to my email from Saturday night regarding this issue to address my thoughts and concerns. Unfortunately, there are still questions I have, do not have answers to, which I want to address here. I'm saying them by number, not as they've been prioritized that way, just to keep track of the different thoughts. First, in the draft of the bill, there are two major typographical errors. The title states all customers will receive a distribution, but at the bottom it states residential customers only will receive a distribution. In one place it states 11.2 million will be dispersed, but at the bottom it says 11.9 million. Those are big enough errors that on any board I serve, I would table the motion just for cleaning it up, if nothing else. I have been informed subsequently that it is 11.2 million and it is for all customers. Number two, paying every ratepayer the same flat $200 doesn't seem logical to me. For example, I've lived in Independence for 20 years and my neighbor moved in December. My neighbor hasn't even received a bill yet, let alone paid it, but we each would get $200. Greg at V's and Unilever would also get the same amount. Greg would probably be happy with that, but Unilever might see it as an insult. Number three, I embedded in my email. I'm going to try again. Okay, we'll go again. Number three, I embedded in my email a page from the Burns and Max study that the city paid about $500,000 for in 2019. That report states that my rates will have to go up to cover reserves and debt between 14 and 18% in 2025 if only a 2% rate reduction were adopted. The council voted in a 6% reduction, which is 3 times higher than the report actually addressed. I would like to schedule a meeting with someone who could explain to me why the Burns and Max study was completely wrong, meaning we should probably ask for a refund from them, or they are right, and you're voting to give me $200 now, but we'll have to raise my rates astronomically sometime before 2025. Number four, as a business person, I'm concerned with the large amount of debt the utilities are carrying while considering distributing $11.2 million. Along with the existing debt, there was discussion at last week's meeting about spending over $100 million to build a new power plant, which would be a huge increase in our outstanding debt. I have not had a chance to research whether our outstanding debt to equity ratio, if you will, in my accounting terms, how it compares to others, but it is a concern to me. Number four, the last but definitely not the least, in fact, probably the most important item I want to address from my email regards the city charter. I was generally glad to see in the draft of the bill that the council wants to follow the charter. However, I believe the way these disbursements are outlined actually violates the charter language. Section 3.17 of the charter states, after providing for depreciation accruals and amortization of bonds and for reasonable accumulation of surplus, the electrical utility shall apply all annual profits to rate reductions. According to FERC's definition of rate, giving out a one-time credit of $200 does not equate to a rate reduction, which again is the only method the charter allows for distributing excess profits. I want to finish by saying I know this has been an issue for years, and I am glad to see that it is being addressed. But I hope the council decides to table this resolution until further work can be done to ensure that it is done right, done equitably, and in accordance with the city charter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other citizens who wish to address the council this evening? All right. This takes us to our presentation resolution for the employee of the month. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 21-709, a resolution recognizing John Largent, electronics fleet technician with the Independence Police Department as the employee of the month for February 2021.
Okay, is there a motion for approval?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Thank you very much. Is there any discussion?
Madam Mayor, can we back up just a second? I didn't hear a roll call. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. You're right. I forgot the roll call.
We can go ahead with this and you can do it
I was
afterwards.
so excited to jump into the agenda. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll and then we will vote on the resolution.
Of course. Excuse me, Councilmembers Huff,
Here.
Perkins,
Here.
Stewart,
Here.
DeLucy,
Here.
Steinmeier,
Here.
Hobart,
Here.
Mayor Weir.
Here. Okay. Now is there any discussion on the resolution for employee of the month? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Just as a reminder, since we have been doing these meetings virtually, and even when we were doing them by hybrid, we have changed a little bit our process of recognizing our employees of the month, since it's a little difficult for them to appear at the council meeting and receive their resolution. So we do those within the departments, but we certainly want to offer our sincere congratulations to John Largent for being selected as this month's employee of the month. Mayor Pro Tem, consent agenda. Oh, you're muted.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move to approve the reports and recommendations of the city manager.
Second.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to pull 21-713, 21-714, 21-712, and emergency reading on 21-501. I don't know if I do it now or later, whatever.
Oh, we'll do that one later.
Okay.
And the 21-714, that's not an ordinance action item, so that's not on the consent agenda. Okay, so you're pulling 21-713, 21-712. Okay, I would like. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, that's fine. Are there any others that any other council member would like pulled for separate consideration? Okay, hearing none, would you please call the roll on the consent agenda minus 21-713 and 21-712?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Motion passes. Councilman Huff, 21713.
Yes, I move to approve 21-713.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember DeLucy.
I would like to address my concerns with this resolution. Ms. Dominic is correct that the city charter does not allow a refund or a credit on bills. It's very specific. It allows for rate reductions. This passed well in the year 2020. The council gave a 6% rate reduction for all future bills. As we presently sit here today, we owe $151 million in principal on bonds, and we owe $91 million in interest on bonds. Last week, we agreed to pay, I believe it was $10 million, and that saved us millions of dollars. It saved us an additional, I think, $5 million in interest payments on 2010B bonds. As I understand, we have more bonds coming due this coming year that we can pay off. For each $1 million we pay, we save $400,000 in interest payments. Beyond looking at saving money that is going to keep our expenses lower, we are looking at probably having to replace 94 megawatts of power in some way when our turbines leave. Just a few weeks ago, we agreed that $67 million was an appropriate number for a cash reserve. I do not understand why we are rushing and not looking at the needs of IPL and the needs of our citizens and violating the charter in giving a $200 refund blindly. It is not good business sense, and I'm going to vote against it no matter how much I want my neighbors to get that credit. It's not allowed. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
looking through the charter today, since the charter became a hot topic over the weekend, section 1.5 says the powers of the city shall be liberally construed. The specific mention of a particular power in this charter shall not be construed as limiting the powers of the city. We have been reminded month over month, meeting over meeting, we're in a pandemic. People are hurting. They've had job losses. Businesses are in trouble. We've had families who are facing major financial decisions, and acting in a form of compassion to work through some of the trials that this pandemic has brought about to people that did not ask for it, could not plan for it. We just know that it happened. It saddens me that we can't have a level of compassion towards our friends, our neighbors, our fellow citizens, and thinking that somehow we're going to bankrupt a power, our utility provider, by giving back in some way. And I'm saddened tonight that we're having this debate that that compassion is and serving our community, those who elected us, is somehow a major issue and topic tonight. So looking at the charter, I don't think that we are really in violation. We have the liberties to interpret the charter, and I think in this time, I just ask our fellow city council members, when is compassion, when's love wrong for our community? That's all. And I will be voting yes for this.
Okay, is there further discussion on this bill?
Madam Mayor,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, just briefly.
Yes.
I wanted to say that I agree with Councilmember DeLucci and our speaker tonight. You know, there's not a person up here that doesn't have compassion for their fellow man and compassion for our neighbors and a desire to improve the quality of life in the neighborhoods for our citizens. This job doesn't pay enough. It doesn't get you famous enough. And the reason we're all here is to serve our citizens. So no, voting no on this is not somehow a sign of a lack of compassion. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Fiscally, conservatively, the smart business decision is to save whatever excess cash we can to pay off more debt next year so that we're in a better place to pay for whatever it is we end up buying at IPL. On top of all this, it's a charter violation. And I'm sorry, but the argument that there's a provision that says you get to interpret the charter does not override just whatever provisions you want to override in the charter. I would argue that in any courtroom in this state or in the country, and I would win. Folks, we get that you're hurting. We are too. Everybody is. But we have a duty. We all swore an oath to follow the charter and uphold the charter. I also want to mention, I went back and did some research. Again, this issue wasn't approved or submitted by the PUAB. So again, we have actions trying to be taken involving IPL without consulting the PUAB, which is also required of the charter. I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, as far as the PUAB, they did approve this. And also, all council members 2 weeks ago approved to refund our citizens in this city. So that's if we're talking about a violation of the charter, everyone, 7 of us approved that 2 weeks ago that we would refund the citizens the excess money after paying the bond. So if you want to talk about a charter violation, perfect. That's all I have to say. I move to approve.
Okay, thank you. I did want to, before we call for the roll, Mr. City Manager, I did want to correct in the record the errors that Ms. Dominic pointed out. There are 2 Scribner errors in the draft. One is we need to change in the final paragraph the residential to all utility customers, which is consistent throughout the document, and the 11.9 to 11.2. To explain this to the citizens, the available amount above reserves was 22.5 million. We approved 10.6 million for the defeasance of the bonds, leaving us with 11.9 million. 11.2 of that is being recommended for this in this resolution. So that's where the confusion lies between the 11.9 and 11.2. But I do want to make sure that those items are clarified and corrected in the final draft, Madam City Clerk. So if you would please, I'm sorry.
I was going to ask Ms. Behrens if she could confirm whether or not, if she had a record, if the PUAB approved or submitted something to the council on this.
I'd have to go back. Unfortunately, I don't have that information at this time. I'd have to look at minutes.
Nope.
I will, Councilman Hobart, this was bill number 20809, entitled resolution number 6637. that Councilman Huff is referring to. This was voted on January 19th, 2021. It was recommended by the PUAB. It received 7 positive votes. It's in your meeting minutes that we just approved this evening.
Well, my apologies.
So Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLisi,
No.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
No.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Resolution passes. Councilman Huff, 21712.
Yes, I wanted to definitely pull this one. I'm very happy that the Independence Center is going to have us out there. It's a great move for this city. It also helps the Independence Center. Maybe some people can start spending some money out there after they get their shots. I will definitely be for this resolution.
Madam Mayor, you're muted.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Madam Mayor, I do want to address it.
Okay.
Again, this is involving a credit on a bill, which is not allowed under the charter. I know that our health property levy has over $500,000 in it. And I agree that it's very kind and a community spirit of the mall to allow us to use it, hopefully when we get a vaccine. And I would suggest that we substitute within this that the health property levy funds pay the $5,000 so that we do not violate the charter and we still accomplish what everyone wants to accomplish, which is a place for vaccines to be given.
So do you have a motion, member?
I move that we substitute payment of health property levy funds of up to $5,000 in place of a credit on the mall bill over the 5 months.
I would second that motion, Madam Mayor, but I'd have a question for maybe the city manager, just to confirm that would be a doable thing.
It would be allowable, Councilmember. I have not run a, pro forma on the health levy as of today, but $5,000 is certainly a lot of money, but relative to the other amounts we approve, it's probably workable within the budget. So I wouldn't want to get the council too worked up about that if that's the outcome. The reason we mentioned this was, again, because the mall has agreed to waive the rental fee, if you will, on the space, but just asked that we pay the utility. So that was the line of thinking with the recommendation there. But to answer your question, we could probably find a way to make it work.
Thank you.
I have a different take on this. The Independence Center asked us for they offered us this space and asked us for utility assistance. We have provided utility assistance in all types of forms. Certainly a lot of through CARES Act funding, which we no longer have. Otherwise, this would be very simple. Obviously, we would use CARES Act funding for this purpose. We have, provided utility assistance to some, if you would consider that, by reduced rates for independent school district, for example. I mean, we have the ability to do this. That's what they requested, was assistance with the utilities in exchange for offering us this free, very large, very accessible site where we would have the ability to set up our vaccination and testing clinics and leave them there and not have to set up and tear down every day, which is a very labor intensive process. In speaking with our health director, our incident command team this morning, if you've been out to Lee Summit or Wyandotte County and seen their sites that they have set up, it is a lot more than, you know, putting out some folding chairs. I mean, it's a big operation, and estimated we thought it would probably take us at least a day and a half to get a site set up. So I'm very grateful to the mall. I think there's a lot of positive reasons why we should be there. So in terms of paying for it, I really don't want to infiltrate the health levy. That is, as we know, is actually inadequate to fund what we currently need, and we need additional health funding in order to ramp up our health department. If the council were, so I don't want to support that, and here's why. If the council decides that they don't want to utilize utility funding for this, the city manager has the authority to go find $5,000. I don't think that I want to hamstring him in how he would decide to do that. It is under the city manager's spending authority to take that, you know, to find that money in places in the budget that he sees fit. I personally am supportive of using the utility funds for this. As we just approved, there's now $700,000 of excess reserve in our utility fund. I think this is a very appropriate use for that. It's brought forward that way because that was what was requested. They didn't ask for rent. They didn't ask, you know, so, you know, that's why it's presented this way. And so I'm going to vote no on the motion, Councilmember DeLucy, and I understand your thinking on that, and I respect it, but if we're not going to use the utility funds, I think we need to give the city manager the latitude to find the funding where he sees fit. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Madam Mayor, which motion?
This is the motion to replace the utility funding with the health levy funding.
Thank you.
Councilmember Huff,
No.
Perkins,
No.
Stewart,
No.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
No.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
No. Is there any further discussion on the resolution?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'd be curious, I'm sure there's not a hard number, but what is the ballpark number that the center is doing for as an in-kind donation for that square footage? I'm not a realtor. I'm guessing it's probably way more than $5,000.
Yeah, council member, I don't know that we ever, in fact, I know we didn't really ever get around negotiating a rental fee, but yeah, commercial space usually goes for several dollars per square foot, and we're talking 13,000 square feet that we're looking at out there. So that gives you a general ballpark of above and beyond what we'd be talking here.
Sure. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I actually don't really like the idea of using, given the credit. I would prefer that the city manager find the money somewhere. So can I make try to make a motion to amend it for that? Okay, then that's what I'm doing.
Okay. So the motion is to allow the city manager to
Find the funding
find
at his discretion.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Is there a second?
I'll
Okay.
second it.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I know I have talked with the city manager regarding just because it's in my district. I've been on. I've had communication with IPD regarding how they're handling everything out there. We have one officer. Well, it's Major Turner. He's been in discussion with the mall ownership, and he has a relationship with him, and city manager has been in communication with him. We're trying to see if we can massage those terms, maybe get it a better situation. So while we're getting really some concerns about where and how, my desire, my hope is that the ownership group, based on some of the things that have transpired, would look at possibly just donating the space and allowing the city to vaccinate their the citizens and not charge us utilities. But Mr. Walker is talking with Major Turner, and they're trying to work on those details. So I would like him to have still some time just to work on the negotiation part, and maybe Mr. City Manager, you could bring us a weekly report on where we're at with that, and hopefully we'll get better news, and we won't have to be worrying about where our city manager is going to be pulling money from to pay for something if we can get it donated.
We'd be happy to.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Throw in something here. What I'm really concerned, and I don't have a problem with the amount of money if it's less, more, whatever. But my problem here right now is the timing. If we have vaccines coming to this city and we have no place to give these people their injections, I think that if we go ahead and pass this tonight, and then surely our city manager will negotiate a lesser price. I mean, this is just what they're asking for, but it does give him the space to negotiate. Like Councilman Steinmeier said, that there's all kinds of stuff going on. But by approving this, number one, we have a spot, we have plenty of parking, we have access in and out. I'm really for going ahead with this and figuring it out in the end, because this vaccine is here. We jack around for 2 or 3 more weeks. Where to do this at? I mean, I have no idea. I mean, there's plenty of spots, but it's like you said, setting it up, leaving it there. As soon as the state releases this, we're going to be in a bind. So if we're going to mess around for 2 more weeks, vaccines here. So I will definitely be supporting this.
Thank you. I'm going to be clear in my intention. I will support Councilman Stewart's motion to give the city manager the authority. That authority includes the utility fund. So if the city manager deems that the appropriate place for this is from the utility fund, then I will support the motion.
And Madam Mayor, excuse me, I'm going to be voting no if it includes the utility fund. I just want everybody to know the charter does not allow the credit. Thank you.
Mayor, did we need a second on
so it has been moved and seconded. I guess Councilmember Stewart, I would like, maybe ask you if you have I'm sorry to put,
Well, I don't want it to be the utility fund, so then.
So you want to say general fund only?
General fund exclude, yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, so Madam City Clerk, there was already a motion on the floor. Do we need, that motion has been amended, so we need to vote on the motion to amend, correct?
Yeah, we'll need to vote on the motion to amend the amendment, and then vote on the original amendment, and then vote to approve the bill if the amendment.
Okay, you take it away, and you.
All right. So this would be the motion to approve amending the original amendment for the money to come from the general fund and to allow the city manager to find the funding. Councilmember Huff? I didn't hear you, sorry. Huff?
No.
Perkins?
No.
Stewart?
Yes.
DeLucy?
Yes.
Steinmeier?
No.
Hobart?
Yes.
Mayor Ware?
No. Okay, Becky, next.
All right, that failed. Next would be the motion to, well, no, we won't have to worry about that motion since the motion to amend that failed. So we just go back to the main motion, the
Okay.
21-712,
Okay.
which we didn't have a first or a second on that. So we'll still need
Okay.
a first or a second.
Councilmember Huff, would you
I
like to
move
make a motion?
7-12.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
No.
DeLucy,
No.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
No.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Resolution passes. Motion passes. Okay. Non-ordinance action item. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 21-714, resolution directing the city manager to limit consideration of generation machinery solutions to new machinery only when evaluating solutions for replacement of combustion turbines.
Councilman Huff.
Yes. What I was my attention here was if council was paying attention the other day that Mr. Nail at the Power and Light was talking about different reconditioned equipment and stuff like that. And what I asked him was if it had a warranty with it, and was it a base load or peak load? He said it had no warranty, and it was a peak load, not a base load piece of equipment. The only thing I was trying to get here was that we want to make sure that, the city's known to take, low bid, second, just all kinds of stuff through the years, and we always get stuck. I mean, clear back to fire trucks. So I'm not so much into limiting it. I just want to make sure that anything that's brought forth, that it does have a warranty and stuff like that to cover that. It'd be all under the council to vote on it anyway. Just kind of shooting a flare up there to make sure that we're not buying junk, that we want, first class stuff. If we're going to drop some money in here, we don't want to be in 2 years and have a maintenance bill that's twice the price. So that's what this is about.
So Councilman Huff, I had a chance to discuss this over the weekend. I certainly concur that this is not an area where we want to invest in equipment that may not be top quality. And I too can think of examples in the past where we have purchased equipment, machinery, vehicles that are not top quality and or refurbished, and we've had some bad experiences with that. What I would like to maybe recommend is that we reconsider this in 2 weeks and put some qualifiers on this. What I'm concerned, first of all, I think that there's a lot of reasons for, people buy a used car. That's the example that I use, is that you can buy a certified used, vehicle with warranty, so on and so forth, with maintenance, and save some money. What I would prefer to see is to have this say, any type of equipment that is not new would have to meet certain standards of quality. I'm particularly concerned, and I have absolutely no idea because we haven't gone into the marketplace yet to find out, is can we buy something that meets our quality standard, might be refurbished now rather than waiting for a new piece of equipment to be manufactured. I think, this is a major decision, and once we make it, we're going to need to get the equipment in here on a time frame, and I hate to add delay if we were to have to wait for a new piece of equipment to be manufactured and delivered. So, and I have no idea if that might be the case. So I'm reluctant to put limits on at this stage of the game without really knowing what we're talking about, but I do absolutely support that it would have to meet certain quality standards and price standards. It would have to be, a significant savings in order to consider that. But before we go out and shop, I would maybe, think about putting this off for 2 weeks and rephrasing this with some of those standards included. So Councilman Huff, I don't know if that's something you're, if we could be willing to postpone this and bring it back in a couple weeks.
Sure, I'll make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, motion passes. All right, this brings us to our ordinances. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 21-001, an ordinance authorizing final disposition of certain city records that have met all requirements to be eligible for such disposition. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, ordinance passes.
Bill number 21-002, an ordinance approving the petition for the establishment of the Susquehanna East Shopping Center Community Improvement District, establishing the district and making findings and authorizing actions related to establishment of the district. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, ordinance passes. This brings us to our first readings. We do have two emergency ordinances that will require 2/3 majority vote. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 21-003, an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 14 of the Independent City Code pertaining to trailers. 21-004, an ordinance amending the Unified Development Code, Ordinance Chapter 14 of the Independent City Code pertaining to final plats. 21-005, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District C1 Neighborhood Commercial to District R12 Two-Family Residential for the property located at 19401 East US 24 Highway in Independence, Missouri. Bill number 21-006, an ordinance amending 1.28.002 of the Independent City Code to increase membership on the Human Relations Commission. Bill number 21-500, an ordinance rescinding ordinance number 19108 and ordinance 19158 to eliminate an interfund loan in the amount of $12,500,000 that was previously authorized to provide emergency funding to the general fund.
So we do this differently now. So Madam City Clerk, do we need to vote to read this as an emergency? No.
No, after looking at some correspondence from the past city attorney, it looks like we don't need to vote on reading them twice. You guys can go ahead and read them twice, and they actually just require a simple majority. They don't require the 2/3 vote.
Okay, so do we give this a second reading now?
Yes.
Okay.
Bill number 21-500, an ordinance rescinding ordinance number 19108 and ordinance number 19158 to eliminate an interfund loan in the amount of $12,500,000 that was previously authorized to provide emergency funding to the general fund. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Congratulations, City Manager. You did a fine job.
Any further discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
this is this was the other half that the prior council voted from funds from IPL to the city as emergency funds. Is this correct?
That is
Yeah.
correct, sir.
Okay. Just wanted to remind folks that I thought before we were elected that was a charter violation too, but I was satisfied that the city manager made every effort to not have to touch that and didn't dig us into a deeper debate on that. So I commend you as well. I thank you for doing that.
Okay, is there further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yep.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Ordinance passes. 21-501.
Bill number 21-501, an ordinance adopting amendments to the fiscal year 2020 to 2021 budget, which was approved by ordinance number 19131. Bill number 21-501, an ordinance adopting amendments to the fiscal year 2020 to 2021 budget, which was approved by ordinance number 19131. Second and final reading.
Councilman Huff?
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate what went on here. All through the years, this has been absorbed by all 58,000 or whatever customers, whether you used it or not. I think probably a year ago, they changed that where they started charging customers. And of course, this virus has hit, which has made this really a nice deal. I've had a few people call me about that it's in the water fund, and through discussion through the city manager, I'll let him say how this thing works so that everybody's aware. It's just not coming out of the water company. Go ahead, if you would, or city manager, sorry.
Yes, sir. Just to reiterate what Councilmember Huff is saying there, one of the items in this appropriation ordinance is appropriating from the fund balance of the water fund into an account in the water utility fund to cover the cost of the credit card convenience fee, which was waived at the beginning of the pandemic, as we wanted to encourage people to utilize that service and wanted to take away any potential barriers to utilizing that. We appropriate it within the water fund because the water department is actually the department that is responsible for customer utility billing. So even though a customer's bill has electric, water, and wastewater expenses on it, all of the costs associated with getting your bill out to you, processed, et cetera, are budgeted within the water department fund because they oversight that responsibility. So I know with a customer's bill, it's 3 utilities, but the expense of a bill is budgeted in the water department, and that's why we're appropriating those funds there to cover that cost.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, ordinance passes. It's not often that I spend time on the information only section of our agenda, but there are a few things that I wanted to make sure our citizens' attention was drawn to. Certainly the COVID-19 semi-monthly update is well worth reading. Our health director provides that to us at the council's request every 2 weeks, and it's very informative. So that is there for our citizens to look at. Our recent council meetings, there was requests made by the council to consider our city hall hours of operation. So also included in the information only this evening are 2 memos from me to the city council. This is a authority given to the mayor by the charter under a state of emergency to make certain, issue certain orders for the protection of the public health. So you'll see my original memo there, which was declining to open the city hall for additional hours of operation and citing the reasons for that. Subsequent to that, I had some conversations with several council members and gained a better understanding about what was expected or desired by some members of our community and by some council members in regards to having our city hall open. So given that input and those conversations, I amended this order. And as of Tuesday, February 16th, City Hall will resume hours of operations from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I selected that date so that we could prepare for that to happen. Also, Monday, February 15th is a federal holiday. We will be closed, and I didn't want to create confusion saying we were going to be open and then we were closed. So I thought that opening on February 16th would allow for us to have a smooth transition. There will be restrictions, and I want to make sure that the council certainly, and more importantly, the public that we serve and our city employees understand what those restrictions are. The public access will be limited to the ground floor entrance, which is the entrance that's used for court. This is the only ADA accessible entrance to City Hall. So the public will be using that entrance for any business that they need to conduct at City Hall. Of course, the staff, the council, we have access to the Circle Drive entrance and other entrances to the building with our security pass that gets us into the city facilities. Health screeners will be stationed at the ground floor entrance. We currently have health screeners at both entrances. They will be limited to one entrance. They are paid $25 an hour to conduct health screenings, which include not only temperature checks, but also some questions that people are asked about. Have they been exposed? How are they feeling, etc. And masks will be required by everybody who is, while they are inside City Hall. Those will be made available if somebody doesn't have one, left them in the car, forgot. Hand sanitizer will be made available as it currently is. City employees will be required to self-perform health screenings on days that they may be working from City Hall. So they are required, as they have been, to stay home if they're not feeling well, take their temperature, certainly stay home if they have been exposed or suspect that they have been exposed. We will have additional security. Visitors will be required to sign in and sign out, as we see at many offices and other places where we visit, the date and time that they were there, their name and the organization, and the name of the person that they are visiting. And they will verify that they have undergone the health screening and they passed the health screening. This will require the same manager to reallocate funding for health screeners under our current agreement. As I said, they're paid $25 an hour, where they're working 40 hours a week. There will be 2 days at police headquarters and 3 days at the utilities center. Those hours of operation at this time will not change. There is a phone in the police lobby if a citizen needs to gain access to the building on other days in case of emergency, and our drive-through at the utilities center will continue to operate. So we do remain in phase 1 of our council-approved gating criteria. Phase 1, we thought we were going to move out of phase 1 in June. It's now February. We are still in phase 1. Positivity rates should be at or below 5% for at least 14 days before we are able to move on to the next phase, and we are far from there. So I'm not going to read all of that, but that information is available about what phase 1 is. I want to be extremely clear about this. The city staff continues to be encouraged to work from home. The citizens will have access to the building, regular business hours, but that does not ensure that the building will be fully staffed. We'll continue to encourage citizens to make appointments if they need to meet with a staff person, to utilize our online services when they can. And as the Missouri Capitol is operating that way as well, the building is open to the public. It's a public building, but the legislators are not available for people just to drop by and visit them in their offices. So I want the expectations of the citizens to be clear about that. We strongly encourage, if you have business to conduct and you need to come and speak with somebody at City Hall, we strongly encourage you to call ahead or send an email and make an appointment. If you drop by, it's very likely that you're not going to find the person that you came looking for. So I want to be clear about that. That's all. Those are the highlights of what's in the memo. It's available, of course, both memos are there for the citizens to read. They're included in our council agenda today. That takes us to council member comments. And I will start with Councilman Hobart. Nothing? Oh.
I had a problem with my
clicker. There you go.
Thank you. I wanted to ask Mr. City Manager, could you, and I don't know if Mr. Nail has much to do with it or Mr. Montgomery, but could you give us an update on the IPO billing? And I don't know if that's been fully explained what happened. So whatever you think people don't know, would you give us an update on that?
Yeah, I would be happy to. So as Councilmember Hobart's referencing, fellow council members, back on December the 4th of 2020, our technology services staff began to notice some suspicious activity on our internet servers. And out of an abundance of caution, took all of those systems offline. Unfortunately, it's not just a simple matter of plugging them back in and rebooting. It takes time to do some forensic analysis on those, make sure nothing was compromised. So it took a while to get those all back online and functioning in a safe manner. Fortunately, all that's now occurred. So over that period of time, the city was not able to conduct its meter reading capabilities of all of our utility bills. As of last week, we have now completed our read of all of the utility accounts within the city. Again, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, we felt like it was very important to get an actual read based on several reasons, but one of those being that the customer sewer bill is based off of their winter average. So we wanted to get an accurate read on that to the degree that we were able. So all customers' bills have now been read. That data is being entered, and all customers in our cycles ought to now be starting to see their utility bills. Any customers that need to make, as Dan Montgomery mentioned last week, that need to make arrangements, call the city. Our staff will work with you to make a payment arrangement. At this time, again, disconnects have not resumed, and then we're not charging any late fees on any of accounts either. So we're trying to make this as convenient for our customers as possible, but everybody should be getting a bill now as the reads have been completed, and get back on track next month as well. Stay up to date from there.
Okay. Anything else, Councilman?
No, I don't. No, thank you very much, and I appreciate that update, Mr. Walker.
Councilman Steinmeier.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know there was just a lot of discussion this weekend and regarding the right thing to do, follow the charter. Is this action? Does it follow the letter of the law, the charter? And I want us to I like to remind myself that, you know, the charter talks about an undivided loyalty to the public that we serve. And you may disagree with some of the things that we've decided or decide. But given the time that we're in and where we're at and the struggles that people are having, that undivided loyalty, when it comes to money, that money comes from taxpayers or ratepayers. That's their money. In a time where we're facing still levels of uncertainty, we're still 10 months into this, and we're still in a state of emergency. We're still trying to figure things out as we go. I would just say that for me, I still stand by the idea that doing the right thing for our city should be driven by our levels of service and compassion for the situation and the times that people are struggling in and living in. So I hope that people understand the hearts of those who have made decisions to do something to help ratepayers by refunding the monies that they pay. And I hope that makes sense. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. I'm always open to a discussion, but I want people to know that loyalty that we have to serve this community, that's the strongest thing that drives me every Monday. So that's all tonight for me, Madam Mayor. Thank you for everything that you all do.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilmember DeLucy.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'm trying to make this machine work, but oh well, anyway. I just want to say that I've studied the charter a lot longer than a weekend, and it's pretty clear to me what it says, and I thank everybody for their time.
Thank you. Councilmember Huff.
I like that, you know, that's your view of the charter. My view is different than yours. I didn't think 25 million was there either, but needless to say, go Chiefs. Thank you.
Very well put. Thank you. Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you. Speaking of money, this Saturday, February 6th, the Independence Rotary Club is holding their 7th annual Mardi Gras fundraiser. And this year they have chosen Inglewood Arts as a recipient with the theme of Arty Mardi Gras. This event is from 7 to 8, open to all, no charge to join. You can find it at the link Mardi Gras, all one word, ARTYMARDIGRAS.com. Inglewood is doing great things over there. They're taking one step at a time. So this fundraising event would be great for our communities. Love to see everybody there.
Thank you. Councilman Stewart.
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, they put out the auction, the online auction for the Mardi Gras, and there's some wonderful things. There's some beautiful original art that's been donated by some very well-known artists in our region. And so I encourage people, it doesn't cost you a thing to go on the website and look at the auction, participate in the festivities on Saturday for a really good cause. And they've worked very, very hard and have raised a tremendous amount of money. So it's quite impressive. Saturday, this past Saturday evening, Councilmember DeLucia and I were able to attend the dedication of the Don B. Reimel Community Suite at the Mavericks game on Saturday night at the Dahmer Arena. It was a very special, very touching evening with the Reimel family. And I just wanted to thank the council again for supporting the supporting this and allowing us to do something very special, that project that meant a tremendous amount to Mayor Reimel, and I think just ideal way to honor his contributions to our community and his memory, and his family was very, very grateful for that generosity by our city council and the Dahmer Arena to allow that to happen. So I just wanted to pass that along. There's a little football game happening on Sunday down in Tampa. We are very excited about it, and it's almost unimaginable to wrap your mind around the Chiefs appearing in the Super Bowl 2 years in a row and hopefully bringing home another victory. I would be remiss if I didn't say, please celebrate safely. Remember that we are in a pandemic, and take those precautions so that we can all be here to see them win their third straight Super Bowl next year. Because we don't have things on the agenda for next Monday's study session, I have, with the consent of the council, canceled next Monday's study session so that we can celebrate an extra day. So don't be looking for us next Monday. We will be back on Tuesday, February 16th for our next council meeting. Mr. City Manager, anything else this evening?
No, nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay.